Welcome to Highlands Live. It's our effort by the Highlands Community Association to better connect our neighborhood. And this week, we welcome Highlands entrepreneur David Tuttleman.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for coming,
Yeah.
Especially my neighbors on both sides of me.
Amazing. My name is Lindsay DeSabatino. I lead our Highlands Community Association events.
And I'm Benjamin Wagner, coming to you from high atop the corner of Rockford in Delaware. I'm the Community Association's communications lead.
And I'm David Tuttleman, your guest.
The idea behind Highlands Live, the goal is simple. We want to meet our neighbors from the Highlands and our direct neighbors next door to us and our communities in order to discuss local arts, culture, business, parks, and recreation.
And the program runs about 30 minutes. The format is super simple. Lindsay and I do a welcome. We interview our guest for 15 or 20 minutes, and then we open the Q&A up to you. We are also recording Highlands Live so that when the show's over, we can post the video to the Community Association website, which is highlandscommunityassociation.org, and we'll also distribute by email afterwards. Real quickly, before we meet our guest, a quick plug for the upcoming spring meeting taking place Wednesday, May 19th at 7 p.m. Meeting will be right here on Zoom. Typically includes updates from and discussions with civic leaders like Mayor Mike Przecki and Police Captain Wilfredo Campos. We'll share detail here and via our newsletter as the date approaches.
In the meantime, let's meet the star of the show, David Tuttleman. Hiya, David.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having me. What a pleasure. I'm honored anyone would want to hear me, but thank you.
We're so glad you're here, and check this out. Let's see how this setup strikes you, all right? So for over 4 decades, David Tuttleman has been on the leading edge of launching and scaling businesses across a number of industries, apparel, consumer goods, food and beverage, and philanthropy. Born and raised on Philadelphia's main line, David worked in his family's apparel business, a chain of 70s discount stores that would eventually become retail juggernaut The Limited. In the 90s, David launched a private men's label, and as I said before, I might be the only person on this meeting, on this program, who's not been to this place, but he opened Kahunaville, a leader right there on the Wilmington riverfront. Kahunaville combined dining and entertainment in an outsized tropical nightclub atmosphere. With his latest endeavor, David is once again out front with a fully licensed and operational medical marijuana growing and processing company located in North Las Vegas, Matrix NV. As CEO, David oversees every aspect of the company, and he does so from right here in the Highlands, where he is also a husband and father of 4. Boom, David Tuttleman.
Hi.
What do you think?
Good. It's as good as I needed to be.
You're like, that's me.
Yeah, I'm very proud of it. I'm also luckily been awarded the opportunity to open a fully vertical medical marijuana company here in Delaware. I've had a vision to do that, and we've recently been awarded the opportunity. You don't have the license yet. You have to prove the license by opening the facility, but it's a pleasure to be a part of the community since '95. A pleasure to be on Red Oak Road and 2 of my neighbors, my abutting neighbors are here. I've really enjoyed being in Delaware, and I plan to be here a long, long time.
Good news. Well, you just, what is unsurprising is you did not bury the lead. You just broke some news, I suspect, or that's some fairly recent information, and we'll get to that. But I'd love to start here. Give me a sense of your Highlands. Like, what is your view? How do you visualize it? What do you experience on the day-to-day in the neighborhood?
I love this house. This is the first house out of 80 I looked at when I came to town, and I thought the setting was amazing. To be across from the park, to have this beautiful group of homes and people, I felt very much a part of the neighborhood. To this day, I love the walking traffic. I love the dog park. And we love sitting on our porch, and over the past year, we found great joy in that. I think it's a great neighborhood, and honestly, and I say this not just because Lindsay invited me, but the people like Lindsay and my neighbors make it that much better of a place. They're adding great, friendship and kinship to this neighborhood, to this area is lovely. Great sidewalks.
Yeah.
I've got a wonderful backyard, and that's, I don't know if that answers your question, but
Absolutely, 100%. So let's back up a tad more. Your son Max tells a story in which he asks your father why he puts his names on buildings, why he put his names on so many buildings. And he says he did it to show that people can come from nothing and accomplish anything in America, which is a powerful statement.
Sure.
So I'm interested in how growing up Tuttleman impacted your worldview and how you choose to spend your time and energy.
I was raised the youngest of five. I've since unfortunately lost two siblings, but I was raised, well in the main line of Philadelphia, and was my diapers. I used to sit in a sewing cart because I was brought to the factory. We had a women's apparel factory in Quakertown. So my parents were very hard workers, and my parents are self-made, and they were always very blessed by the time they spent. Both of them spent in the military. My mother was in the Women's Auxiliary, a WAVE. My father was in the Army. They're both very patriotic, both born and raised in Philadelphia. So they were very, very committed to adding value. And they were a real pillar in the community, and felt, as we still do today, that humility is what makes wealth real. And the humility that I was taught, and to give and to support and to also earn, is the vision and the mission of the Tuttleman name. And I, to this day, have this incredible ability and this gift to be able to give the gifts and continue to conquer the needy and the wanted, the creative, and the children and the parents, and those that need a hand. And we're honored to do that for generations now, and we'll continue to do so.
Yeah, awesome. Very cool legacy. Now, I missed the heyday of Kahunaville, as I mentioned, but
Sure.
best as I could tell from my research, you were running the hippest, biggest venue in town. Can you give me or us a snapshot of that era, maybe like a great memory, a crazy memory? Give me a portrait.
I moved here to be close enough but far enough away from my parents in the main line. I was living in Boston. I moved here, and I had a very different view of the Wilmington waterfront. I didn't see it as years of like abandon. I saw it as two turns off of 95, and they just happened to have a river. And I didn't know that when we were first looking at the building. And then I walked out a door. I found this river that was always there, and we built a beautiful, amazing facility there. Kahunaville's, the entertainment I brought to town, and I'll bring this home to my neighbors. The entertainment I brought to town was such a joy to bring the bands of the 80s, the 70s and 80s that I loved. We had Casey and the Sunshine Band one night, and I needed a ironing board. And I went to Joan Kluger, my neighbor, and she gave me the ironing board. And I think, Joan, I gave it back to you signed. It was either KC or one of those. Oh no, it was Hall & Oates. So I needed it. I just didn't have. So I gave it back to her. I think I gave it back to her signed. But she always says, where's my ironing board? But it was like those things that be able to bring world-class entertainment here to Wilmington. Or I get all the time people say, I saw, Dawkins and Cinderella, or I saw Average White Band, or I was in your backyard when you had Average White Band and Sister Sledge walked up. I mean, it was all that craziness that I was able to create very naturally in a town that was, hungry for it. And it just happened, and it created amazing memories. And that's what I leave with Kahunaville, is being able to affect people's lives and create stories for other people, especially the Klugers and their ironing board.
That's great.
True.
That is an awesome story. So we're going to do word association right now. So are you ready for this one?
Sure.
1, 2, 3. What comes to mind when you think of Rockford?
When I think of Rockford?
Yep.
The tower? When
Well,
I
that's
think
your
of,
word association. Yes. So Rockford. Okay. What comes to mind when you think of the riverfront?
of course, I can only think about Kahunaville. I mean, how do I think about anything but Kahunaville? I was in that river. I was in that river. The riverfront was just a part of my 20s, my late 20s and 30s. I was just a part. I spent so much time down there. Kahunaville, of course. I mean, what can I say?
Okay, this one's a little bit tricky. When you hear the phrase ridiculous, what do you think of?
Jesus, those are really ridiculous.
It's another R word, really.
I don't. Ridiculousness is all I can think about. It's just
Good MTV brand.
like stupid human tricks.
Yeah. Cool.
You asked for one word.
Right on. Thank you, Linz. We'll pivot. We'll pivot to your TED Talk. All right. So in 2016, your TED Talk, you share what essentially, to my ears, feels like your new company's origin story, right? About an experience you shared with your sister Jan, and I wondered if you give us a version, a little version of that for this
Cut
audience.
me off if I go too long, and I'll try to keep it quick.
Yeah.
Started that company with the. It wasn't my idea. It was a kid from Wilmington that worked for me. He was my first assistant, and he moved to Vegas to be a bartender. And he was a fan of marijuana, and he convinced me, kept after me hundreds of times for us to go after together because we worked very well together. He was a great guy, and we applied for a medical marijuana license in Nevada. I eventually did it because I saw the joy it gave my sister in her last days of life. I saw the laugh that the last laugh and the last meal that was spurred by me finding her, at that time was medical in California, finding some medical marijuana. The TED Talk talks about that journey, about my journey and what got me into the medical marijuana business. Nevada has gone since adult use, and but the medical aspects of it are very, very relevant. And recreational or adult use marijuana simply broadens the ability for a lot of people who've many been self-medicating their whole lives to have access to medical marijuana or adult use marijuana. It's an adult's choice to make that to buy this product, and it's only an adult choice to buy this product unless medically advised. And so the journey that I was on showed me that it wasn't anything to be ashamed of. In fact, there was a lot of pride in continuing the effort and helping people have access. It's not just about sitting around getting high like when you were a kid. It's about people really needing this medical product to help them help themselves. And its broad appeal is very important to me. And I shared that in my TED Talk, and I love people to continue to watch. I was very honored to do that TED Talk and honored to to talk at that brief 7 minutes that I called it down to.
Well, it's great. It's moving and it's like I said, it's a very clear origin story. I also imagine it's a highly, or at least initially, but presumably still is a highly fraught landscape. What had your previous experiences with scaling, for example, the apparel business or Kahunaville to 14 or 15 other, franchises? How did that inform the work?
I was a merchandiser in the apparel industry. I worked for my father as a designer, as an operator. I worked for my father, and he was an amazing Renaissance man. He was a man that broke a lot of barriers. He would go into a country with, Sri Lanka. He opened up Sri Lanka for the women's apparel industry. He was early in India, and he was very early in Hong Kong, importing fabrics from Japan. I just learned a lot about manufacturing, design, visual merchandising, accounting, HR through my experience in women's apparel, through him, through the family businesses, and through good schooling, and just, I'm definitely more. I'm a skilled guy, but I'm much more street smart than I am book smart. And I did go to college. I actually got through 4 years of school. Amazing. But I'm definitely more street smart and street aware than I am book. And I brought those street smarts. I've never in the black market marijuana business. I was always in the white market business. And I forget exactly the question, but my point here is I brought all those skills that I grew up with and to bear. And I just went for it. I had the funding, the support, the loving family. My parents were amazing folks, and they were very supportive. My brother I have one older brother, or two older brothers. One's very supportive of me, and I did it with honesty and good spirit. And I did it because I love to do it, and that's what I do today. Same thing. That's what I'm going to build in Delaware again, and that's what I'm running in Nevada now.
Amazing, excellent. Linz?
All right, we're going to do our rapid round again. So what is your favorite local dish and restaurant? I feel like you'd be a foodie.
I'm definitely a foodie. I really do like Southeast Kitchen's vermicelli bowl. I think it's awesome. The cold vermicelli bowl with roast pork and spring roll. I think it's great. I love a good vermicelli bowl.
You're making me hungry. I have a place to get coffee.
Look, I'm a Jewish kid. I do not get along with cow's milk. So Starbucks was an early coconut milk embracer, and I drink 90% of my coffee out of my house is iced coffee with coconut milk, Splenda, and no classic. So I'm a Starbucks guy.
All right. Your favorite local view?
My favorite, you want a real view? I do love being right near the Delaware Theater Company. Is a company I still work with, but they just moved. It was Lou Rosenberg. It was in a design firm, and they had this incredible view up the river. And I remember, and I back to Kahunaville again. I used to love it when the whole facility was set up, and I'd look up the river, and I did it at night at times, and it was just, the lights were going, the stage was up in the air. That was a great view. And of course, I love the top of Rockford Park, or I've been at the top of the tower once. A lot
of stairs.
Yeah, it's a lot of stairs. I'm not too into stairs these days. Okay, for your rapid rounds.
All right. What about your favorite beach?
Oh, I love Rehoboth. I think it's lovely. We still go. I'm now a renter, and I go down there. We go down once a year for 2 or 3 weeks. I'll be doing it again early, and Rehoboth by all means.
This will be an interesting one. Historical figure. Let's see how much you know of your Delaware history.
We will also accept Ben Franklin. A historical figure. Jesus, I wish I could. A Delaware historical figure. The first thing that comes to mind, I hate to say, Tom Carper. To me, like, Delaware history is recent. The first thing that came to my mind is Tom Carper, Chris Coons, two wonderful people. Yeah. My neighbors, and what a great group these folks are. So historical, Tom Carper. I don't know how historical he is, but he's historical to me.
Okay, well, Benjamin, I think I'm going to hand it over to you now. I think we have to end on Tom
Great
Carper.
questions.
Right on. Yeah. Folks, if you have any questions for David, wherever you are in the neighborhood, please just raise your hand, and Linz will call on you. And meantime, I have one last one. It is not a wraparound question. Oh, I guess it kind of is, but take your time, David. If I'd like you to fill in the blank, right? So the objective here is like a little additional community cohesion, right? So if you had one wish for your neighborhood, it would be blank.
First thing comes to my mind?
Yeah, whatever you like.
I want a really good Chinese restaurant. And I would love to be the guy that opens it, but I'm not going to do it. We need a really good Chinese restaurant, or that's more important to me than a deli. So one thing, I mean, I got to be honest, it's a Chinese restaurant. That's no question about it. That's what I want in the neighborhood.
I feel like with the folks on this call, this should be feasible.
Yeah, they would look to me. They would look to me to do it, and I would love to, but maybe not now.
Looks like Dennison has a question for you. Dennison, I've taken you off mute, but we can also read your question.
Wow, Dennison, nice to hear from you.
I'm just curious about more details about the Delaware license that,
Sure.
that you mentioned.
Sure. We just applied. The company is called Valor Craft Cannabis. There was a recent round. They awarded, you don't get a license, you get the right to prove a license. You have to prove it by opening your facility and complying with the state. So it's Valor Craft Cannabis. We will start shipping product hopefully Q2 of 22. It takes time. I'm looking forward to bringing what I've learned in Nevada here to Delaware, and I've been working with the state and a really wonderful group of guys that are all, most of them are friends' parents that I met that I really, really like a lot. And I think it's going to be, it's a big journey, and I think it's going to work. But Valor Craft, you'll hear more about it.
Thank you.
Sure.
It looks like Jan Jessup has a question, so I'm going to take Jan off mute so you have an opportunity to ask it, but I can also read it if you would prefer.
I think I read that. How is it going to differ from Nevada?
Yes, that's
the product offering won't be as broad as what you get in Nevada yet. The process of state approval takes time. So they're not accepting all the ways of what's called extraction. So there's a couple extraction methods that they haven't yet approved for the product. So it will be very similar, but it's a smaller market, and it's going to take time because it's a very early market. So it's going to be very similar to what I offer in Nevada, short, a bunch of the SKUs, but it'll be a quality-based, neighborhood driven, believe it or not, because two of the partners are my neighbors that live in over by the school. I can't say neighborhood driven, but it's clearly a quality based operation that it's going to grow, high-end medical product. So very similar. Does that answer the question? I think so.
It does. Who knows? Maybe Benjamin will be your marketing guy by the time we're done.
I kind of like the idea of doing some media. It's impressive. I mean, that's one of the reasons I did it, was because I know the business, and I think I can wave the flag. The guys I'm doing this, the main guy I'm doing this with, James Brobin, is a veteran and a very dedicated patriot, and that's a part. It is a not-for-profit organization to start with, and he's got a real vision with supporting the efforts of veterans and PTA, and supporting the PTSD ways to help PTSD. And this guy's suffered from it himself, but he's a great local guy. I really enjoy working with. So
cool. Let me make a plug for, because we have such a great turnout right now, David. I'm going to make a plug for the Highlands Community Association spring meeting, which Dennison will be leading in a few weeks. That's May 19th. It's a Wednesday at 7. More information as that comes close. If you guys have any additional questions, we have a few more minutes together before we call it a night. And please share your faces, especially for the new guy. It's really fun to get to know people, since I don't have my jabs yet, and this is the best way to get to know people.
I want to say to you, I really appreciate what you're doing. It's a very unique idea, and Lindsay is just, she is such a powerhouse, and she is
You're too kind.
No, well, okay, I'm kind, and it's the truth. I really have a lot of you know your events you've done, and through rain and shine, man. You press on, and it's amazing. You know that you keep doing it, and I really thank you from the bottom of my little postage stamp here at Red Oak Road that you do that. So keep knocking and calling it. I'll bring the kids out. I'd be happy to.
Right on. Right on. Thanks, David. Thanks, Linz. Any other questions, folks? You got any, Linz, or should we call it?
Wait, I've got a really quick question.
Hey, Molly. Hi. It's our first guest.
I'm the director of the Art Museum. Please tell us what is in the background on the top of your shelf. It looks like something fabulous.
Yeah.
I can't quite see it.
I can even show you some more. That is a Mickey Mouse, a repro Mickey Mouse, a old Warner Brothers Russian doll, and then a front to a jukebox, and then there's King Kahuna, a little thing that somebody gave me many years ago. I thought that's pretty funny. Then the pictures of me and my first child, and just like all sorts of weird shit that's been in front of my shit shelf for many years. So I don't know if that answers your question, but there's even a Beanie Baby up there.
Yes, there's so much to look at. I can look at it. Thank you for.
Well, I'd be happy to have you over. We can go through it all.
I will take you up on that.
No problem.
David, tell us about your art collection.
My parents, my mother was an artist, and she went to PAFA, and she went to Temple, and she was a very passionate collector and collected all sorts of artists, but she definitely had a thing for contemporary artists. She was a huge fan of Lichtenstein and Calder. She loved contemporary artists, and it clearly, and you've been to my house, Dennis, it clearly it rubbed off on me. So I have all sorts of art around my house that is just stuff that affected me. I have some fun stuff like this frieze above my head is literally a Keith Haring frieze that was painted by one of their lead production guys. He was in the 80s. He was a production guy for Haring, and he came in here for the Delaware the show house in '95, and he painted this frieze by hand. It's all hand painted. Gregory Carell, a great fine artist and designer. I love this guy. He also designed the my living room, and so I just like art. I like contemporary art. I'm a child at heart, and I'm a Mickey Mouse fan. So I mean, my collection, it's made up of Coca-Cola memorabilia and pop art, and I wouldn't change it for the world. And I'm now lucky enough to be able to take some art from my parents' collection and start integrating that into mine.
Well, David, I hope that Molly takes you up on your invitation, because I think there's a great potential for collaboration there between Delaware Art Museum and
hey, I want to help the Delaware Art Museum. We've helped every art organization in Philadelphia, and I'd be happy to lean into the Delaware Art Museum. There's my public commitment that I can get the Tuttleman Foundation involved in the art museum. No problem.
You all heard it. I have witnesses.
No, I got no problem. You'd be surprised how quickly I can respond.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not gonna buy a new wing, but I could certainly do my neighborly part to donate, and I can do that pretty rapidly. It's easy. So Molly, get my contact information.
I will.
I'd be happy to put you on a continual donation. No problem.
I would much appreciate that, as would the entire neighborhood.
Yeah.
And we'll certainly be out to visit. We just added our very first Keith Haring to the collection. So I know
Sweet.
Contemporary curator that's been a gap she's
Sure.
wanted to fill. So she will be delighted to come out and check that out. So
I
thank
have
you.
three amazing, if anybody knows my house, and the neighbors do, three huge outdoor pieces of art that came from my parents' collection that was too big to house indoors at our art storage. So I took them, and the artist escaped me, but I'd love you to come over and see this. One piece, I ended up shutting down Red Oak Road. Sorry, neighbors, for like an afternoon. I did. I thought that they would come and like offload it with a lull, and it shut. And we could. I think Rick was around there. He was like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Sorry, Rick." And so yeah, we shut down Red Oak Road to offload this one piece. Well, there was 3 pieces, but one of them was about 3 times heavier than we thought. I'd love to show it to anybody. You can even see it. I mean, we have to show it to you. I got a great backyard for a neighborhood party.
I was just about
Yes.
to say, I think we need a neighborhood party and art tour.
That
And
would
a
be
carnival.
amazing. I think we
wanna
should
do
do
a
that.
carnival with snow cones and.
Hey, take it back to Snowco, right? That's your first gig.
The snow cones, yeah.
Right on.
Where it all started. But that would be fun. I would love to do that. When time is here, let's do like a street festival party, like block party, and I'd be happy to host the snow cone pavilion at the Tuttleman.
I love it. I love it. David, Molly, thank you for coming back. Dennison, you guys, I feel like this is a mission accomplished, like, you know, connections. David, thank you so much. Linz?
Anytime.
Thank you, David. This was amazing. And I hope everyone takes the time to tune into our next episode on April 20th. So we're going to have Alana Delaney from the Wilmington Park Superintendent. So all of your Rockford Park questions she can address. And we're going to celebrate Earth Day.
I want to thank my neighbors for accepting me, my wife, and my kids as part of this neighborhood. I am now from Delaware. I am a Delaware resident, and I am a very patriotic American, but I am from Delaware now. And I really love the neighborhood, love the people, and I have got nothing but you'll be burying me in the backyard, that's for sure. Well, I don't know, that might hurt resale, but I'll be here till that time comes. I assure you.
Listen, I got all kinds of boilerplate.
Jonah has a question. Wait,
Oh, please.
Jonah's raised her hand. Let's get Jonah in here real quick. Or is Jonah?
Yeah, no, I had my own mute on. No, I just wanted to say, David, we really enjoy having you as always enjoyed having you as a next door neighbor. And we haven't seen each other in a while. And this has just been a great talk, and it was wonderful to hear everything.
I'm here because of you guys. You told me what a great neighborhood this was. You're the first ones I talked to. And Marcus like, oh, this place is great. And you guys were together. And that's why one of the main reasons, of course, next to the buyers, why I bought here was because you guys said how great it was. It was a fall day and the wind was blowing, the leaves were everywhere. I remember the sound, and you guys were such supporters. And so I'm
David?
here. Kluger's Fall. Yes, Rick.
David, I'd like to second what Joan said. We know you and we love you. You are a child at heart. You're a charming and engaging and really a wonderful guy at heart. And we are very proud to have you as a neighbor. And we appreciate you doing this.
That brings tears to my eyes, honestly. I respect you guys so much. And I've always loved being next door to the two of you, and to have to hear that literally brings tears to my eyes. So thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate that. I accept that honor, and I will continue to do that. Okay.
Awesome. Well, you guys, I feel like we can close it there. You can read all about, we'll post about this and post a video at highlandscommunityassociation.org. We'll send out a newsletter. Lots more coming up in the coming weeks. Meantime, I'm Benjamin Wagner.
I'm Lindsay DeSabatino.
And we'll see you around the neighborhood.
Yay! Great show.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.